Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Hope you're well. And if I sound a little funny, it's because I've got a cold. So I will definitely edit out the coughing, sneezing, and nose blowing that's going to happen while I'm recording this video. But thanks for stopping by today. And in this video, I'll be in Luminar Neo, and I'm going to be talking about masking tools, and in particular, the ones that I use the most, because there are a lot of masking tools and a lot of masking capability in Luminar. And especially if you're newer to it, it can get a bit overwhelming. I want to simplify that and talk about a few tools that I use. These are the ones I depend on day in and day out to help me get my work done, make my images look good. If you aren't familiar with masking, then in short, it is a way to allow you to use a tool to apply an edit to a certain specific part of the photo. Why this matters is it gives you control. And control is how you get a better edit, because if you just apply every tool across the entire image, you end up with not so great of a final result. I spent years kind of avoiding masking in other tools prior to Luminar coming around, and it was a waste of time. I should have dove, whatever. I should have gone in head first with masking years ago. I'm going to help you do that in this video. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you look at the Edits tab, you can see I've done a couple of things already. Develop Raw, Super Contrast, and Erase to get rid of a few spots. Before and after, dark photo, made it brighter. Everything's good. Now, the first tool that I want to talk about is one I absolutely love. And technically, it's not even on the masking menu, and that is light depth. When I say masking menu, I'm talking about this tab that appears on most tools in Luminar. And some of these are the masks we'll be talking about in this video. But the first thing I want to talk about is light depth, because it's amazing. And it is technically creating a mask for you. What it does is it will identify the depth in an image and allow you to adjust where your edit is going to apply based on that depth. Now, if you're familiar with masking, you know that the old adage is that black conceals and white reveals. Meaning, if an area of a mask is black, that means your edit is not going to apply there. And if it's white, your edit is going to apply there. Well, that's basically what's happening here. I've increased the amount to 26. I've adjusted the depth so it's kind of hitting those rocks in the foreground. I'm going to add a little bit of softness, maybe a tiny bit of warmth. But the reason I think this is such a great masking tool is because it's effectively creating a mask. It's just doing it based on depth. So it allows me to adjust where I want this light adjustment to go in the photo based on the depth of how close things are to me versus how far away they are. Now, ideally in the future, we get a depth mask type tool, a depth mask on other tools. We'll see. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the other part that's great is the advanced settings, where near is basically the black area. Remember, conceal, right, where this mask is not being applied. Mask is the white part here with the amount. So brightness near is that black section very at the bottom, and brightness far is the section that's kind of above this in depth. I want to actually take the near and add a little bit of warmth because the sun's shining on those rocks. And for far, I want to make that a little cooler because it's got some nice blue in the sky along with some nice pops of warmth. And I like to play those two off of each other. So tool number one, light depth, before and after. Before and after, massive amount of control over the image. And it is technically a masking tool. That's why I use it all the time, because I love it and it's so powerful. Okay, the next one is going to be something I use in structure. Now, I'm not going to go through a full edit in this video because it's not a complete end-to-end workflow. I'm just sharing tips and tricks in these masks based on my experience with them. So the next one, and I'm going to go in order, is going to be linear gradient. This is the second one I depend on all the time because I love it. And what I want to do is actually create a linear gradient in the sky. And if you've been here before, you've probably seen me do this. What I want to do is with structure, I apply this linear gradient, and I got to make sure I get it kind of straight. That's pretty straight. What happens with a linear gradient is, and the reason I like it so much, is it covers a wide area. But the gradient part is what's really powerful. The linear part is, it's a line, right? But the gradient part is how this fades from here, from that top line to that bottom line. And that's super critical because it gives you the ability to blend this edit into the rest of the photo. So you get 100% of whatever adjustment you make in that top section. And then from that top hard white line past this middle one down to that bottom one, it fades from 100% at that top line down to 0 at the bottom line. So the point is that gradient gives you the ability to really fade. Now you can adjust the length or the size of that area in order to fade it over a greater area. I think something about like that works really well. So I use it a lot on landscapes and cityscapes because it covers a wide area, left to right, if you will, on the photo because it's linear, but the gradient part allows me to fade it. And when you fade and edit, kind of feather that edge, you get a better blend and your edit is less obvious. So with structure, I'm just going to go negative here because I like to smooth out skies. So before and after, and that linear gradient just comes in clutch. That's why I use it all the time. Okay, the next tool I'm going to talk about is a radial gradient. I'm going to go into develop and get a radial gradient. Now, I'm just going in order, like I said. So I did linear and I'm doing a radial now. Radial is effectively a circle, but you can make it like an ellipse or an oval versus a linear gradient is more line-based, right? Straight line. But radial gradient is so powerful because it gives you the ability to not just draw a circle like that, but you can expand the shape, either blowing it out left, right, or top to bottom. You can also tilt to adjust if you need to, which I don't here, but you may see me do this in other videos where if I have a blown out sun, I'll drop a radial gradient in there and then actually just lift the exposure a little bit, maybe even lift the highlights. And it just creates a little bit softer glow around that. So if you look at the before, where it's a lot more intense orange, and after, a little bit more faded, a little bit more gentle. And again, the other nice thing about it is it's a gradient. So just like on linear, you have that gradient edge where you can feather how big of a range or how much of the photo that edit is fading. And so again, that gives you the ability to blend that in really nicely. So in this case, I applied that to the sun, but you could apply it to rocks or sections of a photo. I use it a lot on my subject. For example, just to maybe apply that with Accent AI, for example, on the subject of my photo to give it a little bit of pop. But that's why radial gradients are so good. Great at isolating little areas, but it has that gradient edge, so you can fade that edit into the rest of the photo. Now, continuing down the stack, I'm going to go into what is my favorite mask, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. But I want to add a little bit of color to this image. And so what I often do is I'll come in and I'll get these tools in color harmony and I'll start playing around. And what I want to do is just give it a bit of color boost. And I'm going to go into the highlights here in color balance, give it a little magenta. And that's a lot of color and I like it, but it's a bit too much. So before and after, this is where my favorite mask comes in really, really handy. And if you haven't guessed yet, that's the luminosity mask. Now, I've done countless videos just dedicated to luminosity masking. If you think that would be useful, just leave a comment down below and I'll do a new one. But when you click into luminosity mask, it automatically analyzes a photo, figures out what the light values are across the photo, and it gives you this bar. Now, this bar is on the left-hand side, the dark stuff, so shadows, and the right-hand side is the bright stuff, right, the highlights. And you can grab the ends and then drag this mask. Remember, the red is covering the area that will be masked, right? So your edit will apply to the area that's covered in red. So what I've done is, because that left side is shadows and that right side is highlights, I've now put this into the midtones. But I don't want to do just that. What I want to do is fade it gently. Remember, I talked about fade with linear gradient and radial gradient. The fade is what makes a mask allow you to blend your edit into the rest of the photo without making it really obvious to the viewer. So there's a brilliant way that this works in luminosity mask, and that's with these little triangles. So you just grab that triangle, and what I'm doing is I'm taking this away from that left edge of the bar, and in dragging it, what I'm doing is I'm saying fade that away from, this is midtones, right? So I'm kind of in the middle of that bar. Fade that towards the shadow. So blend this mask from the midtones into the shadows. And then we'll do the same thing on the highlights. I want to grab it. And you can see what's happening as I start dragging this. If you look at the sky, more and more of that sky is getting filled up. But notice, you don't have that hard edge. That's a hard edge, which means a really abrupt change, which means any edits I make will show up 100% here and 0% there. And that's what the fade is. That fade gives you the ability to blend it in smoothly so it gradually dissipates or feathers into the rest of the photo. And then what I do is I just start experimenting. I move this around and I start kind of eyeballing the mask and trying to figure out what I really want it to look like. It's a little bit hit or miss in terms of knowing offhand. You may have a good idea, but usually what I do is I find myself kind of messing around with this, dragging that fade and making sure that the fade is pretty generous in both directions. Let's say something like that, because what I did is I amped up the color, but I really want the color to mostly be in the sky, around the sun, a little bit of the water. I think that covers it very well. but that's what a luminance range or luminosity mask does. It just gives you the ability to control your mask based on light values. And as you know, all these photos are just collections of light. So it is the best mask in Luminar, in any product, right, that has luminosity mask. It is the best mask, period. It's the most flexible. I use it all the time, and it's my favorite. And now when I go back to the adjustment tab, you'll see that my color adjustment is not nearly as over the top. And that's because I concentrated it in the midtones, kind of blended it into the shadows and also the highlights. So I got a nice generous fade. So now if you look at the before and the after, I got a nice little pop of color. It looks great. That's why luminosity masks come in so handy. I use them on every edit because you can't really control a mask, I don't think, any other kind of mask as well as luminosity mask. If you haven't learned how to use those, check out my other videos. It's well worth it. Okay, now the last and final mask that I find myself using a bit more often than I really thought I would, I'm going to go into structure, and what I want to do is isolate these rocks. Now, what I've often done, if you have an even kind of flat foreground, I'll use a linear gradient for that because it's easy. In this case, I don't really have a flat foreground. I've got this section of rocks. It kind of makes a U shape. And that's not conducive to most masks, but it's incredibly conducive to object select. That allows you click and then you hover and you start picking up different areas that get highlighted. And sometimes, depending on where you hover, it'll pick up a lot like that. It finally picked up a whole bunch of this. And that's one of the things I find that you generally have to experiment a little bit. And what I want to do is add some structure to these rocks. But that, with the object select, was pretty darn quick. That was a few seconds of me hovering, and I don't really need it over there, but that's fine. I can ignore that. But what I want to do is add some structure to give a little bit of crunch to those rocks. And object select, very powerful, very easy to use. And it's great because as a masking tool, it resides in Develop Raw, Accent AI, Structure, different color tools. And so if you have like a subject in your photo, it's really great at that. You can just amplify what the light or color or detail look like on your subject by using object select. I use it all the time. I absolutely love it. And again, it's something that I find myself using quite a bit more often than I thought I would. So that is tool number 5, and that's the other one that I think is just incredibly useful. And the last thing I want to do is give an honorable mention. There's another masking tool that comes in really handy, and that is your old standard brush. Now, I don't use brush near as much as I use the other tools, but it's really powerful and it's great for just little things. So it might be something where you come in and set the softness and the strength, and maybe I'm going to drop the strength a little bit, which means I won't get the full effect of the mask. Softness is basically your gradient edge, and that is the fade or the feather that I think is incredibly important. And size is kind of small, and all I want to do, let's just say I want to paint in here, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to paint that in, and then I'm just going to come to the adjustment, and I'm going to drop that exposure just a little bit, maybe half a stop. All I do is want to darken that a little bit, before and after, maybe not even that much. The point is not really what did I do, but why did I do it? I wanted to use the brush because it's great for really bizarre or weird shapes, which happens especially in landscape photography, where you have a lot of kind of weird shapes that don't really fit other masks that well. The brush is perfect for that, and being able to adjust that gradient edge and make it smooth as in terms of how it blends into the rest of the photo is absolutely critical. So brush mask, kind of an honorable mention, but light depth, linear gradient, radial gradient, luminosity mask, and object select come in clutch. I use them so much, and they're so powerful. Before and after. It's not a full workflow, but it gives you a good idea of the different masking tools, why I use them, and the ones that I depend on the most, because like I said, there's a lot in Luminar, but these are the ones I find myself using again and again. They're effectively my favorites. Hopefully this gives you some ideas about how you can use them in your own photos. And if you haven't yet checked out my free ebook, it's an editing guide for Luminar Neo. It's available at the link down below. Check that out. I'll be back soon with more videos, my friends. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. I'll be back soon without this nasally sound, and hope to see you then. You guys take care, and until next time, adios.